Oh, can you also have Rosemary put a story that we're going live to talk about color? Can you ask her? Hey everybody, it is so good to see you. I am going live right now. We've been asking everyone what some of their challenges with color are. And hey Colleen, hey Susanna, hey Farouk, hey Shelly, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, so good to see you. So we are live on both Instagram and Facebook, and so it is so good to see everybody. Hold on, I'm getting my Facebook up and running so that I can see the comments. We are so excited to see everybody. We've had all these wonderful people joining our workshop that's going to be airing in just a couple of weeks, and want to let everyone know it's $27 and you can click the link in our bio to get there. But in the meantime, today what we really wanted to talk about was color. Color can be super intimidating for a lot of people, and I kind of wanted to get some of that out there and just clear the air, wave a little bit of sage, and really just kind of enjoy the process, because so much about color and using really playful color, really bright color, is about you as an artist and what you feel and your intuition. So it's not as much of a, it doesn't need to be as intimidating as we think it is. Hold on, I'm just getting this up and running. There we go. Okay. Great. Hey, Melissa. Good to see you. Hey, Adriana. Hey, Carving Wood and Restoring Wood. Good to see you guys. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about color. I know we had some really interesting questions come in, and just kind of wanted to walk through a little bit about designing color palettes and what I do when I'm going into here we go. I locked the leg, so hopefully it won't shake anymore. What I do when I'm going into a color palette and doing things like these sailboats or like these palm trees, which these are both, they reflect myself and my story, just like everything that you do reflects yourself and your story. And the way that you see color and the way that I see color are going to be a little bit different. Even if we like the same colors, literally with the way our eyes work, we're each going to be a little bit different. So that's your secret sauce. That's your superpower, is you and your story. And we can express that through color. So what I wanted to do was go ahead and just kind of show you guys how I explore color a little bit and give you a really quick and easy explanation of how I get through. Let's see, I'm gonna flip this camera around. There we go. Of how I work on color schemes. So I like to work with color schemes by thinking about things in terms of I pick a color and I start with that color. So I want you guys, good to see you, Tara. Sorry, good to see you, Sarah from St. Louis. Good to see you, Beth. Good to see you, Rose. Hey, Celeste. Hey, Starla. Starla's in Alabama. Carol's in New Mexico. So as I'm getting started, I want you guys to tell me something that you are struggling with when it comes to color, because that will help me help you today. So, oh, Canty, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a bit. Mountains of northern Georgia, northwest Georgia. That is a beautiful area. I love that. So one of the things that I like to do is, well, find all my paints. Yeah, if you could go ahead and move to the palette. So really, we think that we need a ton of colors to do things, and we don't. And we can use a very few amount of colors to really get just about all of these colors on this color wheel. Because I'm such a color nerd, I do like to, it's been a while since I've gone live on Instagram, so pardon me while I adjust the camera. So one of the things I'm very particular about getting, bright colors and as bright of colors as possible to start with, because then every time you mix a color, it gets a little more dull. But you can do a lot just from 3 colors, from primary magenta, yellow, and ultramarine. And, I like, just because I'm a blue person, I throw in teal a lot of times, but you don't have to. So let's see. Kim says it's really great to see me going over this before class. She really struggles with picking out a color scheme. Let me raise this up even more. Okay, there we go. And Starless says, Canty says she has issues finding Van Dyke Brown. A recipe for that. Oh, Canty, so you can take like I've got one for you. Let me go ahead and answer that. So Van Dyke Brown can be a little bit harder to find. It's a golden color. So Golden makes it, Golden brand paints. But what you can do is you can take burnt sienna, which every brand has. And I don't have it in like I actually don't have burnt sienna in like a good professional tube. I have it in a cheap tube. And I do that because I mostly use it as a background. So I have it here in Lucas. But what you can do is you can mix ultramarine blue with burnt sienna and you'll get a Van Dyke Brown, basically. So what I like to do is just kind of practice and play and mix some of these things. Okay. So if you don't have Van Dyke Brown, you can mix burnt sienna with a little bit of ultramarine blue, and that will get you a Van Dyke Brown. And this is pretty close to Van Dyke Brown. Also, you can use burnt umber, which I don't have, and I haven't had burnt umber in ever since I was painting with oils, so I haven't had burnt umber in a good many years. But burnt umber is a little bit more of a oh, look at that, this is super close. This is going to have a little bit more blue, and just because it's straight out of the tube, the pigment is a little purer, so you can get a little bit darker. But if I look at it when I add white, or I'm sorry, I water it down, and so I have the paper. These two are very close. So we can mix a lot of colors. One thing I talk about a lot is work with what you have. Don't stress out if you don't have the perfect whatever. Like a magical, mystical paintbrush isn't going to suddenly make you a master painter. Like I've met painters that, I've literally met a painter that paints with his mouth because he's quadriplegic, and he does beautiful work. So one of our Creative Circle members is actively painting with her wrong hand. So she was right-handed, and she's learning how to paint with her left hand because she had a stroke. And so she's using painting as a recovery tool. So whatever you have, you can work with it and work around it. So don't worry about it. So this is a very close, this is our Van Dyke Brown that we made, and this is straight out of the bottle. Look at how close these are. So we can make that work. So I saw a great question that was, Kim Smart said she struggles with picking out a color scheme. All right, so I am looking for, let's see, picking out a color scheme. I'm going to, let's try purple. So I'm not going to go with straight purple. I'm going to go with kind of like a red purple, and I'm going to see what works. So this is in the Creative Circle, which is our VIP membership experience. One of our lessons is about learning how to mix a color wheel. And I've been painting for a long time, and I still come back and do this. And I'll do it kind of crazy. Like I'll pick different primaries. So I'll pick a different yellow, a different red, and a different blue and see what happens. And I always learn something. I used to have all of these, y'all, can I confess something? I need to confess something. Rosemary, every time a new box of paint comes, she wants to shame me about how many tubes of paint I have. But who out there has too many greens? I want to know who has too many greens.
You should be painting.
Yeah, I'm just grabbing a few of these. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but this is just a sample of all the greens that I have. And I mean, but this is a turquoise. Like, how do you get the perfect turquoise? And what if you need like the more neutral green, and you don't want the more neutral green? What if you want the bluer green? Or what if you want the really great lime green? So that's true confessions. I am a color hoarder, but the more that I have really stretched my skills and practiced on the fundamentals, I used to use chromium oxide green all the time. And I used to use khaki green all the time. And now I just mix them, and I save a lot of money on paint because I don't have to buy these specific tubes. So I still have the tubes because it's what's left, and I'll use them up as I go. But a lot of these, you don't have to have them, which maybe I should auction off some of this paint that I don't use much and see if anybody wants it. Give it away. So we can mix all these colors from just a very few colors. So I wanted to start with a red violet, because that's a color I never go to. So I wanted to start with a challenge. I wanted to start with something that's kind of hard. I love blue. I do blue all the time, so I kind of wanted to try something. Maybe I'm probably inspired by my fingernails, because this is absolutely a red violet, a good magenta. Must be. So I'm mixing a red violet. I've got it down here on paper. And what I like to think of when I'm designing a color scheme is I like to think in terms of like a dominant color. So I call this color the lotta color. This is the one that you're going to use a lot of. And so next what I try to do is I try to find other colors that are similar and look good with it. So this is more of a pink, more of just a straight pink. This looks good. If I wanted, I could go, I don't know that I'll do this one. I'm gonna kind of put it over here because this moves more towards the oranges, and I think I want to keep it more towards the violets. So I would go kind of, this is a darker red violet. You could use this in the shadows would be a really pretty plum color. Like this is actually a very autumnal autumn. These purples and these plums are giving me all these fall vibes right now. Oh, this is a beautiful plum color that I don't usually use. Can add a little bit more red. Look at this. So I kind of, when I'm kind of working with these, I'll sort of lay these on top of each other and see how they interact. And so I would call this I use a lot of these colors. And they're all kind of the same on the color wheel. You know, they're all right around here. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to find a color to use less of, a little bit of. So there's a couple ways that you can go. You can keep going further into the reds, or you can go further into the blues. I'm gonna go further into the blues because, you know, it's me. And I'm going to make this a little bit gray. Actually, this one is this is still very what we would call analogous because all these colors are kind of touching each other. But we could do a very gray violet. And we could kind of have this be like the secondary color. Let me get a little bit more of that Van Dyke brown. And I love this Van Dyke brown because it really helps, it gives a dark color on the palette. These are all much lighter in value, and so you can, it's sometimes hard to get darker colors if you don't have a dark pigment like the Van Dyke brown. So you can kind of do like these colors together. This is just a straight up, it has a little bit of tint to it. It has a little bit of color to it, but not much. And so this is really very much a neutral. So you could do these pinks with these purples and have a really beautiful neutral color. And these work really well together. And so I would use if we were doing like a landscape, for example, or a palm tree or whatever, I would have more of these colors, a lot of these colors, and these as the secondary colors I'd have the next most of. So I don't always have a painting in mind. A lot of times I just design color palettes for fun. I start with a color, I challenge myself, and I go from there. Because it's all about the color and the value, the thing that you're painting. It could be, you could do a teacup, you could do a landscape, you could do boats. The thing isn't nearly as important as the color and the value. And everything we do and everything we talk about has it can be applied to anything in art. So, oh my goodness, that elbow spot. I just got paint all over my elbow. It's that's the worst one, is that spot on the, when you get paint right here, then it winds up all over everything. It travels. So here's where I like to come in, and sometimes I use paint chips. Sometimes I use my Color Aid cards, which these are sort of paint chip sort of things that are pre-made for you. And if you're getting really deep into a color scheme and you found most of the colors that you like, but you're not sure what other color you want, you can come in and you can figure out how contrasting you want to make this. So I can come in and say, all right, well, I really like this cheddar cheese yellow orange. Like, that's a great one. So I want to make a color palette with that. And you don't have to necessarily mix the color. You can kind of get some ideas of different directions that you want to go. Or you can come in and try an aqua and see how you feel about that. I like, this one's a really sophisticated palette as well. Or I've been loving these magentas with like lime greens lately. So you could do it with a lime green. It's very, like mod right now. And you can try it out with, do I want a dark lime green or do I want a light lime green? And these are some ways where you actually unintentionally, if you go with the greens, you've kind of got a complementary scheme going on. So I would use just little pops of the yellow green on it as you're designing it. Or, I like to, with the yellow orange, it's another great, like, just vivid pop of color. So this can go so many different directions. Look, even these three together, this is a great color scheme as well. So you can, I really love the aqua. So I usually get to about this point, and that's where I'll pull these out so that I don't have to mix and mix and mix and mix, but I can kind of test it and be like, okay, so now I want to try some aquas. I want to see what I can do with the aquas. Okay, I really want to go with the greens. I'm feeling the greens, so let me go with the greens. So then after I get about that far, that's when I will kind of come and bring these in, and I'll see what I'm feeling. And it's amazing because each one of these is a different feeling, a different mood, and none of them are totally are wrong. None of them are wrong. They're just different moods. They're different feelings. They're kind of how you want it to develop. So, and then I'll show you guys a great way that I kind of test this. Like with these, I keep a color journal, and I was trying to keep something like super happy, super fun, super light, and what I'll do is I will, these are each kind of little mood boards. So I'm trying and testing different, like, let me try this orange with this dark blue. What if I have a light blue? These over here don't have any dark blue. So it's like this one has more contrast, this one has less contrast, but it has more of the, it has more of that like cerulean color. So you can really, it can be frustrating to hear it, but there's really no wrong answer, you know? There's just what you are feeling. So if I wanted to do that, like cheddar cheese color, I could come over here and try that one, and what I could do is I can make each of these colors, and I can test some of these. Pat, you never know where to put your brush. I always put it in the muddy water. I never have clean water. It's always dirty. It's just kind of a consequence of life. So I will say, when you start going with the aquas, it's pretty hard to get there with ultramarine. If you have a good primary cyan, you can get there, but this is one of the cheat colors is teal, which I'm almost out of it. I can't even undo it. It's just called teal. Like, I'll show you guys. Ultramarine and yellow tends to go just straight green. So this is where you do get into a little bit of the limitations is the word I'm looking for. It is one of the kind of limitations of acrylics and some of the pigments. But oils would have that too. You can't get turquoise from ultramarine. It's just not how this works. But actually, this is still, like, look at this. This is a really pretty sage color. And not something I would have maybe anticipated. So, you know, I always find new things. Yes, I want to know who else gets their color recipes from food. That's a good one. All right, so I'm gonna make this I'm gonna make this teal color that I found as well. It has a little bit of yellow in it. Pretty close, kind of crazy, huh? This will wind up being just a touch darker in because the acrylics will dry 2 shades darker. But this will give us a good idea of like kind of what we're going for. And actually I'll do a lighter version so that we can just test them next to each other. So Bonnie asked, do you always have to have contrasting colors in a palette, or can a monochromatic palette be considered complete? Absolutely. Monochrome colors are a palette. Like that is a color scheme, is monochrome, is all one color. It's just a choice, you know, like you just choose to have all one color. Like a true monochrome palette would be like just ultramarine, and you would add white. Basically, you'd take it through its very lightest shades up through its very darkest shades. Yes, technically you can do that. I find that a little limiting. So I would throw in, that's why I like another color to kind of add drama to it. Y'all know me and drama llamas, you know, it's just kind of a little bit fun to have something that's doing the talking and raising the stakes. And look at this. This is pretty much this lime green right here. So yes, you can 100% do a monochrome palette, especially if that's what you're feeling. It's Picasso did his blue period, asparagus green, love it. Picasso had his blue period. You know, people have had like red periods. You absolutely can. I just like to use. I like having a drama color in there. What can I say? All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of come through and put some of these other colors that we had with these. Ooh, shoot. Look at that. I grabbed some of the wrong color. That's when I grabbed some of the wrong color and mixed it in to the color. It did something really interesting. It actually made a very pretty color. Kind of made this really interesting brown. And sometimes I'll put that down and just make a note of it. I'm not going to use it today. But actually that might be a interesting color to include in this one. Might be, might not be. That might be a fun accent color to have. But when I do something like that, I try to then clean my brush a little bit better so that I understand, so that I don't do it again. All right, so I'm trying to mix more of that red violet, the darker red violet. And that was just straight, such a pretty plum. Let's see, yep, about there. And this one's gonna be a really cool one with the cheddar cheese. What's the turquoise? What food is the turquoise, y'all? I'm not sure. Would this be an aubergine, the plum? So these two, I love next to each other, and they're almost complementary. Like this is a yellow orange, and this is kind of a red violet, and so they're pretty far away from each other on the color scheme. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna weight the rest of my colors in this one a little bit more in this direction so that it makes this pop even more. Oh, there we go. Raspberry ice pop. Oh, yeah, raspberry. This is a great. Wait, no, the turquoise can't be raspberry. Maybe like a blueberry, a blue ice. It's a good bubblegum flavor. We have very important things that we debate about during these lives, don't we all? And actually, oh, I just got the color even better than I did before. That makes me happy. this was a little bit duller, and so I was able to get, look at this, a little bit brighter. And actually, I don't like these two as much. And that's something that, you know, you kind of find out as you go and you test. And that's why we do these tests, is we see how what we like and what we don't like before I do this, before I get into the full painting. Because it helps me, you know, pre-flight stuff. It helps me get feelings before I jump in, and so I don't get three quarters of the way through the painting and be like, why is this not working? Why don't I like these colors? I can't figure out why. I've a lot of times I'll sort of pre-vet the colors. Oh yeah, peppermint. Yeah, it's like a mint chocolate chip almost. Turquoise, a shade of Gatorade. Oh, I love it, y'all. That's too funny. Now, this purple I like better next to the turquoise. Like this, it leans a little bit more blue. And so that's why it's important to kind of get out here and like try some of these colors next to each other and see if we like them. Because I could have gotten into a painting and gotten in with the turquoise and thought I liked it, and then been like, ugh. But I like the more purple one. I think that works a little bit better. And I want to go even more blue. And y'all, I'm actually letting you into my, like, this is my legit sketchbook, so this is, I don't usually share this. So this is a little bit more of like the light violet. And it's really interesting to see these two colors vibrate against one another because they're much more like complements. Oh. Blueberries aren't turquoise. They're like Prussian blue. Prussian blue? We're gonna have to color match some blueberries, y'all. And look, I just love the asparagus and the light purple. If anybody ever watches Celebrity Jeopardy, we have some light purple here. I really love this color scheme here. This one's super fun too. So I'm gonna take that light purple and I'm gonna neutralize it just a little bit by adding Van Dyke Brown. I'll just sit here and play for, you know, a while. You can take 10 minutes, you can take an hour. You can take as much or as little time as you want. This brown I'm not as big of a fan of, so I'm just gonna go over it. And I kinda like this lighter version with it. I'm just exploring, I'm just seeing if I like it. Coconut margarita. Blue carousel. Come on, y'all. Blue. That's what it was. It was blue carousel. That's the color. It's definitely like the water in the Gulf in the summer. And I have just like a kind of a very light brownish gray. And in this one, I might make it just a little bit, see if I can make it a little bit more, kind of making it, adding a little bit more red, a little bit more yellow to see if I can make it a little more orange. I like that cool one, but let's see. I kind of like the warm one too. So these are, you know, my main color that I'm going to use is this magenta, and then we can use all of these little bits to design a painting. And so each one of these is like a totally different mood. Like that has one feeling versus this is much more serene. Like this has a lot of energy because of the yellow. It kind of reminds me of like hay fields, golden grass. This is much cooler. This minty green kind of reminds me of out west, some of those really, really cool greens. And then this one over here kind of reminds me of like irises. Like you have all these beautiful purples and you get these lime greens and it goes into like these purples, but you've got some beautiful red violets in here. And so with color schemes, there's really, you know, it's no wrong answer, but it's there's all kinds of possibilities, and it depends on you and your story. Let's see. Are there any? I wanted to see if there were any other questions about color schemes. So drop any more questions that you guys have in, and I will work on answering them. We have our smooth sailing workshop we are currently accepting people. We have over 100 people signed up so far, and we cannot wait to see you guys there. If you're in the Creative Circle, you are already signed up because that is included in your membership. So I'm going to try another challenge. I'm going to try an orange. Oh, wait, no. I know what I'm going to try. I'm going to try yellow. We had a question on Instagram about yellows being challenging. So I'm going to talk about, you know, yellow in general. Yellow is, oh God, actually, if you're in the Creative Circle, we are doing lemons next week. We have this great lemon still life that we're doing. And so we think of yellow, and when we try to just lighten it, what happens is it just kind of dies. Or, you know, we try to darken it and it just kind of dies. I am currently using cadmium yellow light. You can use Hansa yellow is a good one. Yellows are not my strong suit as far as like one of my favorite colors. But you know, you don't have to do anything. You can do whatever you want. But a lot of times they'll teach you to just go, you know, straight to a complement to darken a color. And so this winds up looking, you know, green. And that's okay, but this is kind of a dead yellow. Like there's no warmth to it. And it's just, it loses out on all this vibrance. You know, it could be so much more, and on the white side, it could be so much more. grabbed a couple more yellows. I really truly don't use, it's not like my greens. I don't have as many tubes of yellow because I've really kind of found the one that works for me. I use cadmium yellow light, which once again, I'm almost at the end of a tube. I have another tube arriving soon, hopefully. I do also use, this is, well, you can't read it, but this is an Indian yellow hue, and this is another interesting yellow. So, you know, generally, there's two things that affect colors. One is what you are mixing it with. Oh, Rosemary secretly was hiding tubes of paint from me. She just brought me, look, I have some more cadmium yellow light. Look at that. Thank you, Rosemary. Saves the day. So I can actually show you guys stuff. So there you can get different kinds of yellow. Like straight out of the tube. This is Indian yellow light. It tends to be more orangey. If you want a cool lemony yellow, bismuth yellow, it's one of the newer, bismuth yellow, it's one of the newer factory pigments. And so it's a much cooler yellow than like a cadmium yellow, for example. So it has blue undertones versus the cadmium yellow is very warm. Like it almost has orange undertones. So this is just much cooler. So, you know, straight from the tube, there are some differences between yellows. I generally just kind of, and then if you want a really warm yellow, you have the Indian yellow or like a yellow deep. So, oh my goodness, look at this. This is dried. This is dried green, y'all. So yellow, you can do a really pretty green just from yellow and Van Dyke brown. But is that how you want your yellow to really look? No, it's kind of a dirty looking yellow. It doesn't truly look like it's in shadow. It kind of just looks dirty, for lack of a better term. Oh, okay. I didn't realize bismuth is replacing Hansa yellow, because Hansa yellow is much more like a cadmium. It's warmer. So that's interesting. I'll have to look into that. Debbie, how do I know how to replicate colors? That's a great question. So in the Creative Circle, we have an entire section about this, about color journaling. So what I like to do is I like to, I take notes. I write about what colors I like. I'll write the color recipes down so that I can go back and find it. I've been mixing colors long enough so that I can pretty much have a lot of this in my head. This is like, learning art is a lot like learning a language. At first it's hard and you have to think through it. And you have to write it down, and you stumble and you practice and you say the wrong thing and you mix the wrong thing and you have to go back and fix it and you take a lot of notes. But as you get going, you do start internalizing. So it gets easier. Things move from your conscious. You have to think about it. You have to write about it. You have to, you can't just do it without thinking. So that's when everything is in your conscious. And as you get going, it moves into your subconscious. and you can do it without thinking. So what this practice does, and what this practice helps you with, is it helps you it helps train that muscle memory into you. So as you get better, it just becomes second nature, and you do it without thinking. So I usually have a cadmium orange on my palette, but I'm showing you guys how to mix with as few of colors as possible. So what I like to do is I like to mix the color next to the color. So I like to mix some orange into it before I go for the dark shadows, so that then the dark shadows have a lot more warmth to it. So this is what it looks like. This is a lot less green as far as being a shadowy color for a yellow goes. And it's a lot less dull. It has a lot more personality, but it still has that, it still feels like yellow. This kind of feels dull. So if you want to see what that's like with orange, because the orange doesn't go quite as red, do that here. And then I add and then it winds up being even less green because the orange really holds the warmth. And so I can get really vibrant colors, and I can keep them vibrant, and they don't get dull as we go through it. And the easiest way, especially when you've got yellows, for instance, the easiest way, we actually have a great lesson on this. If you want to lighten it, is to glaze, to keep it keep the saturation but lighter, is to come through and glaze. And it just absorbed into my paper super fast, so it didn't quite do it. But what you can do is you can put some white paint down, because when you mix a yellow and white, it gets a little bit chalky. But instead, if you want to try to make it a much pure white, what you can do is come over with a thinned out version of yellow over it, and so it'll still have a lot of that glow. Let me get And so with yellow, then you can glaze over it, and it's still a lot lighter, but it will have a much better, much purer color to it. It'll still be a nice saturated version of it. So, well, I think that's going to be it for today, guys. This has been an awesome chat about color schemes. We're going to be going live some more over the next few days, so keep your eye out. If you want to know when we're going live, would you throw that number up there, Joe, for me? All you have to do is text "Hey" to our 727 number, and what is it again? Okay, it's 727-732-3086, and we'll let you know when we're going live. Also, don't forget we have our sailboat workshop is going to be airing live in about a week. No, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks from Tuesday, so October 19th, we will be live with our sailboats, and we're not just doing sailboats. We go over color, value, design. It's a whole lot jam-packed into a 3-day workshop. And if you're curious about fundamentals of painting, fundamentals of drawing, I absolutely recommend this to you. If you're a beginner, I recommend it. So we hope to see you there. It's only $27, and it's a 3-day experience where you get to come and hang out and paint with me. So you guys have a great afternoon, and I'll catch up with you later. All right. Bye, y'all.